My name is Serena, I am 28 years old, and I am a fashion designer. Tomorrow is my engagement ceremony with Ethan, and I returned home early with an excited heart, wanting to surprise him. The moment I pushed open the door, I was stunned. In the living room, Ethan was tightly embracing a woman, and they were kissing passionately. I recognized the woman, she was his assistant, Chloe. Ethan, tomorrow is your engagement ceremony with Serena. Is it really okay for us to be like this? Chloe said in a coquettish voice, her tone laced with feigned concern. Ethan gently stroked her cheek. Chloe, you know that I only love you. Getting engaged to Serena is just to secure the company's investment. Her family's connections in the fashion industry are very important to me. But I can't bear to part with you. Silly, engagement is not marriage. Once I get enough resources, I will naturally find a way to break off the engagement. Then, we can be together openly. My hand gripped the doorknob tightly, my knuckles turning white. So, in his eyes, I was just a tool to be used. 3 years of feelings, as heavy as Mount Tai in my heart, were as light as a feather to him. I quietly retreated and sat in the hallway, lost in thought. My phone rang. It was a Facebook message from Ethan. Serena, I'm really looking forward to tomorrow's engagement ceremony. Thank you for being by my side these past 3 years. Looking at this message, I found it particularly ironic. At this very moment, he was probably still upstairs with Chloe, yet he still had to put on an act for me. I took a deep breath and replied, I'm looking forward to it too. Since you want to play this game, I'll play along to the end. The next morning, I dressed up carefully, put on the white dress I designed myself, and arrived at the engagement venue. Ethan was already there waiting for me, dressed in a suit, looking elegant with a perfect smile on his face. Serena, you look beautiful today. He walked over and naturally took my hand. I smiled and replied, thank you. The guests arrived one after another, and the venue was decorated very warmly. My parents sat in the audience, their faces beaming with happiness. They thought their daughter was finally going to marry a good man. The engagement ceremony began, and the MC asked us to exchange rings. Ethan picked up the ring and looked at me affectionately. Serena, will you accept my proposal? Applause erupted from the audience. I looked at him and suddenly smiled. Ethan, do you know? Know what? He asked, somewhat puzzled. When I came home yesterday, I saw a very interesting scene. His face changed. Serena, what are you talking about? I saw you hugging Chloe, and you told her that getting engaged to me was just to use my family's connections. The venue instantly fell silent, and everyone was looking at us. Ethan's face turned pale. Serena, let me explain. Explain what? Explain how you played me for a fool for 3 years? I threw the ring heavily on the ground, making a crisp sound. Ethan, I don't want this engagement. After saying that, I turned and walked away. Behind me, I heard the guests' discussions and my mother's crying, but I didn't look back. Some paths must be walked alone, some pains must be endured alone. Walking out of the hotel, I wandered aimlessly on the street. My phone kept ringing. Ethan called more than a dozen times, but I didn't answer any of them. My best friend Clara also called. Serena, are you okay? I heard there was a problem at the engagement ceremony. I'm fine, I just saw the true face of a scumbag. Where are you? I'll come pick you up. No need, I want to be alone for a while. After hanging up, I turned off my phone. As night fell, I walked into a bar, wanting to drown my sorrows in alcohol. Shortly after sitting down, a man came over. Miss, drinking alone is dangerous. Do you want me to accompany you? I looked up at him. He was a greasy playboy. No need. I refused coldly. Don't be so cold, beautiful. How about we chat? He persistently sat next to me. I said no need. My tone became even colder. Why pretend to be aloof? Coming to a bar isn't it to meet men? He reached out to put his arm around my waist. I was about to lose my temper when a hand suddenly pressed on his shoulder. This gentleman, she said she doesn't need it. Can't you understand? I turned around and saw a tall man wearing a black shirt, with a stern face. The playboy looked at him, seeming somewhat wary. "Lawyer Damien, I didn't expect to meet you here. Since you know me, you should know what to do." The man's voice was calm but carried an unquestionable authority. The playboy left awkwardly. The man sat down opposite me. "Hello, my name is Damien." "Thank you," I nodded. "I'm Serena." "You look like you've encountered something unhappy." Perhaps it was the alcohol, or maybe the blow I received today was too great, but I found myself telling a stranger about my situation. Today was my engagement ceremony, and I found out my fiancé was cheating, so I exposed him on the spot. Damien listened quietly without interrupting. 3 years of relationship, I thought it would have a happy ending, but it turned out I was just a tool for him to use. "So, do you regret it now?" he asked. "Regret?" I was stunned. Regret what? Regret exposing him in public, regret not handling it privately. I shook my head. "I don't regret it. If I hadn't exposed him in public, I would have to bear the shackles of marriage, living with someone who doesn't love me for the rest of my life." Damien nodded. "A very courageous choice. It's just that my parents will be very sad. They thought their daughter had found a good home." Parents' love is unconditional. They will understand your choice. We talked for a long time, and I found this man to be insightful and measured in his speech, making me feel very comfortable. Before I knew it, it was already late at night. "It's getting late, let me take you home," Damien said. "No need, I can manage myself. A drunk girl walking alone at night is too dangerous." I thought of the playboy earlier and nodded. On the way, Damien told me that he was a lawyer specializing in marriage and family dispute cases. "If you need legal help, you can contact me." He handed me a business card. When we arrived downstairs at my home, I thanked him and was about to go upstairs when I saw Ethan's car parked at the entrance. He got out of the car, looking haggard with bloodshot eyes. "Serena, you're finally back." He quickly walked towards me. Damien stepped in front of me. "This gentleman, please stay away from her." Ethan sized up Damien, a flash of jealousy in his eyes. "Who are you?" "Serena, did you find a new man so quickly?" "It's none of your business," I said coldly. "Serena, can we talk?" "I can explain what happened today." "There's nothing to talk about, Ethan, we're over." After saying that, I went straight upstairs. In the following days, Ethan came to find me every day, sometimes waiting for me downstairs at the company, sometimes at my doorstep. He sent me countless messages and made countless calls, all of which I rejected. Finally, one weekend afternoon, I decided to meet him and make things clear. We met at a coffee shop. Ethan looked very haggard, with stubble and bloodshot eyes. "Serena, thank you for agreeing to see me," he said excitedly. "Go ahead, what do you want to say?" I sat calmly opposite him. "I can explain what happened that day. Chloe and I were just impulsive. The one I love has always been you." I smiled faintly. "Ethan, do you think I'm a fool?" "Serena, I swear, I really love you. That day was just a moment of weakness. I promise it won't happen again. You said yourself that getting engaged to me was to use my family's connections. Was that also a moment of weakness?" Ethan's face changed. "That was just angry words." "Angry words?" "Words said while passionately kissing another woman?" He opened his mouth but couldn't say anything. I stood up. "Ethan, we're over. Don't come looking for me again." "Serena, you can't do this. 3 years of relationship, can it really be broken just like that?" He hurriedly stood up, trying to grab my hand. I dodged. "You were the one who broke it first, not me. Serena, I beg you, give me another chance, okay? I will definitely cherish you." Looking at his pleading expression, I felt no stir in my heart. "Ethan, love is not charity, I won't pity you." After saying that, I turned and left the coffee shop. Behind me, I heard Ethan's calls, but I didn't look back. After leaving the coffee shop, I went straight to the company. Although it was the weekend, as a designer, overtime was routine for me. I buried myself in drawing designs, trying to numb myself with work. I don't know how long it had been when the office door was pushed open. I thought it was Ethan following me again, but when I looked up, it was Damien. "Why are you here?" I was a bit surprised. "I was passing by and saw that your company's lights were still on. Remembering that you said you worked here, I came up to check." He was dressed casually, holding 2 cups of coffee. "You're working so late, have a coffee to refresh yourself." He handed me the coffee. "Thank you," I said, feeling warmth in my heart. "Did you meet that person today?" He was referring to Ethan. "Yes, I made things clear, he won't bother me anymore." "How do you feel?" I thought for a moment, very relieved, like putting down a heavy burden. Damien nodded. "Only by letting go of the past can you embrace the future." We chatted for a while, and he stayed with me until I finished my designs, then took me home. "Damien, thank you for your help these past few days," I said sincerely downstairs. "It was nothing, don't mention it," he smiled faintly. "Then I'll go up." "Wait," he suddenly called out to me, "if you don't mind, I'd like to invite you to dinner tomorrow." I was stunned. "Dinner?" "Just a meal between friends, no pressure," he quickly explained. I thought for a moment and nodded, "Okay." Watching his departing figure, my mood inexplicably lightened. Perhaps a new life was about to begin. The next evening, Damien took me to a very stylish Western restaurant. He was very gentlemanly, pulling out the chair for me, ordering for me, and taking care of me attentively. "Why did you choose to be a lawyer?" I asked curiously. "Family influence, I guess. My father is also a lawyer, so I was influenced from a young age." "Then why do you specialize in marriage and family dispute cases?" Damien was silent for a moment. "Because I've seen too much unhappiness in marriages and want to help those who have been hurt." I could sense there was a story behind his words, but I didn't pry. "What about you? Are you married?" "No," he shook his head, "work is too busy, I don't have time to think about personal matters." We had a great conversation, talking about work, life, interests, and ideals. I found that Damien was a very deep person, with unique insights and sharp thinking. Chatting with him was a pleasure. After dinner, he took me home. On the way, my phone rang. It was Clara. "Serena, where are you? I have something urgent to tell you." Her voice was urgent. "I'm on my way home, what's wrong?" "Come back quickly, Ethan is causing trouble downstairs at your place, and he brought a lot of people." My heart sank. "I'll be right back." After hanging up, Damien asked, "What's wrong?" "Ethan is causing trouble downstairs at my place." Damien's face changed. "I'll go with you." When we arrived downstairs at my home, we indeed saw Ethan with a few people there. They were holding a banner that read, "Serena is heartless, abandoning her boyfriend of 3 years." Ethan was shouting through a megaphone, "Serena, come out and make things clear. You can't treat me like this." A crowd of neighbors had gathered around, pointing and whispering. My parents were also in the crowd, their faces looking very upset. Seeing me return, Ethan rushed over excitedly, "Serena, you're finally back. Why are you doing this to me? 3 years of relationship, and you just cut it off like that?" "Ethan, what are you doing?" I said angrily. "I'm fighting for my love. Serena, I can't lose you." Damien stepped in front of me. "This gentleman, what you're doing constitutes harassment. If you don't stop, I can call the police." "Who are you?" Ethan glared at Damien viciously. "Serena, did you break up with me because of this man?" "Ethan, please get it straight, you cheated first, not me." "I already said it was just a moment of impulse." "Serena, can we start over?" "Impossible," I said firmly. "Why? Because of this man?" He pointed at Damien. I was about to explain when Damien suddenly put his arm around my shoulder. "Yes, because of me. Serena is now my girlfriend, please stay away from her." I was stunned, not expecting him to say that. Ethan's face turned ferocious. "I knew it, Serena, you did find a new man. You're just a fickle woman." Damien's face darkened. Please watch your language. Watch my language? She's two-timing, and I need to watch my language? Enough. I couldn't help but burst out. Ethan, you cheated first, and now you come to slander me? Do you have any shame? I cheated? When did I cheat? I took out my phone and played a recording. It was the conversation between Ethan and Chloe on the night before the engagement. Chloe, you know I only love you. Getting engaged to Serena is just to secure the company's investment. The recording spread clearly in the night air, and the crowd gasped. Ethan's face instantly turned pale. So that's how it is, this man is too much. Deceived her for 3 years and still has the face to make trouble. The girl did the right thing by breaking up. The neighbors' discussions made Ethan feel utterly ashamed. He gave me a fierce look and left with his people in disgrace. After Ethan left, the crowd gradually dispersed. My parents came over, their faces grave. Serena, what exactly happened? My mother asked. I briefly explained the situation, and my parents were very angry after hearing it. This Ethan is a wolf in sheep's clothing. To think we treated him as a son-in-law, my father said angrily. Serena, you did the right thing this time, my mother patted my shoulder, a man like that is better off without. Damien stood by quietly, not interrupting. Mom, Dad, you should go back and rest, I'm fine. My parents nodded and left. After the crowd dispersed, Damien and I stood downstairs. Thank you for helping me just now, I said. You're welcome, but, he was a bit embarrassed. Earlier, I said you were my girlfriend to help you get rid of the entanglement. I hope you don't mind. I don't mind, it was just a temporary measure. We looked at each other and smiled. But how did you have that recording? He asked curiously. That day, I overheard their conversation and thought it was important, so I recorded it. Very foresight, Damien said approvingly. I didn't expect to actually use it. We chatted for a while, and then Damien left. In the following days, my life gradually returned to peace. Ethan didn't come to bother me again, and Chloe also resigned from the company. I heard from colleagues that Ethan's project had problems, the company suffered heavy losses, and he was dismissed by the board. I didn't gloat, I just felt that karma had come full circle. That afternoon, I was in the office drawing designs when my assistant Lily came in. Director Serena, there's someone claiming to be Ethan's mother who wants to see you. I was stunned for a moment. Let her in. Soon, a woman in her 50s came in. It was Ethan's mother, Helen. We had met a few times before, and she was quite polite to me. Auntie, why are you here? I stood up to greet her. Helen looked very haggard, with red and swollen eyes, obviously having cried. Serena, Auntie begs you, please make up with Ethan. Her opening words caught me off guard. Auntie, Ethan should have told you about our situation. I know, Ethan did wrong, but he really knows he was wrong. Helen held my hand. Serena, Ethan has lost his job now, and he's drinking every day to drown his sorrows. If this continues, he will be ruined. Auntie, this is not something I can solve. Serena, Auntie knows you are a good child. Ethan was spoiled by me since childhood, which is why he made such mistakes. Please be magnanimous and forgive him this time. Helen started crying as she spoke, and my feelings were complicated. Auntie, feelings can't be forced. Ethan and I are not suitable for each other, separating is better for both of us. But you've been together for 3 years, how can you just break up like that? Auntie, in these 3 years, Ethan has never truly cared for me. He loves someone else in his heart and was with me only to use me. Is there any need to continue such a relationship? Helen was speechless after hearing this. After a while, she said again, Serena, even if Ethan was wrong, you shouldn't retaliate against him like this. Now he has lost his job, and his friends have all left him, what more do you want? Auntie, I have never retaliated against him. Then why did he lose his job? I smiled bitterly. Auntie, you should ask Ethan why he lost his job. Helen wanted to say something more, but my phone rang. It was Damien calling. Serena, are you at the company? I have something to discuss with you. Yes, come over. After hanging up, Helen asked, who was that? A friend. Boyfriend, right? Helen's tone was a bit sour. I didn't answer. After a while, Damien arrived. Seeing Helen, he politely nodded. Auntie, I still have work to do, you should go back first, I said to Helen. Helen looked at Damien, then at me, sighed, and said, Serena, take care of yourself. Then she left. After Helen left, Damien asked with concern, was that Ethan's mother? Yes, she came to ask me to get back with Ethan. How did you respond? Of course, I refused, I said with a bitter smile, but she said Ethan is in a bad state now, having lost his job and his friends leaving him. Damien pondered for a moment, this might not be a coincidence. What do you mean? I heard that Ethan's company recently had big problems, and someone was manipulating things behind the scenes. My heart sank. You mean someone is deliberately targeting him? It's very likely, Damien said, but this has nothing to do with you, you don't need to feel burdened. But... Serena, you have to remember that his situation is his own doing. Those who betray feelings must pay the price. I nodded, but I still felt a bit uneasy. That night, back home, I kept thinking about this. Although I hated Ethan, I didn't want him to be truly ruined. While I was lost in thought, the doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole, it was Ethan. He stood outside, looking haggard with disheveled hair, as if he hadn't taken care of himself for a long time. I hesitated for a moment but still opened the door. Serena. He saw me, and a hint of joy flashed in his eyes. You're willing to see me. What do you want to say? I stood at the door, not letting him in. Serena, I know I was wrong, really wrong. His voice was hoarse. I've thought a lot during this time, and I realized I can't live without you. Ethan, we've already made it clear. Serena, I beg you, give me a chance to prove my sincerity, okay? I looked at him, feeling no stir in my heart. Ethan, love is not a proof problem, you don't need to prove anything. Then what do you want me to do? Tell me, as long as you're willing to come back to me, I'll agree to any condition. I have only one condition, I said calmly. What condition? Tell me, hope ignited in his eyes. Turn back time and let everything start over. Can you do that? Ethan's face instantly turned pale. Serena, you know that's impossible. Since it's impossible, there's nothing more to say. I was about to close the door. Wait, he reached out to block the door. Serena, is someone behind the scenes targeting me? What do you mean? My job, my friends, suddenly all left me, it's too coincidental. He stared at me. Is it your new boyfriend manipulating things behind the scenes? I frowned. Ethan, don't overthink it. I'm not overthinking. That Damien, he's a lawyer, he has the ability. Even if he did it, so what? You betrayed me, and you have to bear the consequences. Serena, how can you be like this? 3 years of relationship, doesn't it deserve a little pity from you? Ethan, when you were hugging Chloe, did you think about my feelings? He opened his mouth but couldn't say anything. Now that it's your turn to suffer, you think it's unfair? I sneered, where in the world is there such logic? Serena, I really know I was wrong. If knowing you're wrong was useful, what would be the need for laws? After saying that, I slammed the door shut. Through the door, I heard Ethan sobbing outside, but I felt no sympathy. Some hurts, once inflicted, can never be mended. The next morning, I received a call from Clara. Serena, hurry and check the news, something big happened. I opened my phone and saw an explosive news article. Ethan, director of a well-known investment company, is under investigation for suspected embezzlement of public funds. I was stunned, not expecting things to develop to this point. Soon, my phone rang. It was Ethan. Serena, did you see the news? His voice was desperate. Yes, I saw it. These are all false, someone is framing me. Serena, you have to help me. How can I help you? You have connections in the media, can you help me clarify things? I sneered. Ethan, do you think I would help you? Serena, I beg you, for the sake of our 3 years together. Our relationship? Didn't you say you were with me just to use my connections? Now you remember our relationship? Ethan was silent. After a while, he said, Serena, I admit I said those things before, but they weren't my true feelings. Even now, you're still lying? I'm not lying, I really love you. If you really loved me, you wouldn't have done those things. After saying that, I hung up the phone. In the afternoon, Damien came to see me. Did you see the news? He asked. Yes, did you do this? Damien didn't deny it, he did embezzle public funds, I just brought the truth to light. Why did you do this? Because he hurt you. Damien looked at me, I won't let anyone who hurts you get away. A warm current surged in my heart, but I was also a little worried. But isn't this going too far? Serena, you're too kind. Damien held my hand, for betrayers, there's no need for mercy. I looked at him and suddenly felt he was a bit unfamiliar. This gentle and elegant lawyer had such a decisive side. You don't think I'm too ruthless, do you? He asked. I shook my head, no, I just didn't expect you to do this for me. Because you're worth it, he said seriously. We were getting closer, and there was a deep affection in his eyes that I couldn't understand. Just as we were about to kiss, my phone rang. It was Helen calling. Serena, Ethan has been arrested, can you help him? She cried. My mood instantly became heavy. Auntie, I can't help with this kind of thing. Serena, I beg you, Ethan was framed. Auntie, I don't know the specifics, you should consult a lawyer. After hanging up, Damien looked at me, do you regret it? No, I just feel it's a bit complicated. Emotional matters are inherently complicated, but you have to remember, you didn't do anything wrong. I nodded, but I still felt a bit uneasy. In the following days, there was more and more news about Ethan. Some said he did embezzle public funds, while others said he was framed. I didn't know what the truth was, and I didn't want to know. I just wanted to live my life quietly. But it seemed that the trouble wasn't over. That evening, I was watching TV at home when the doorbell suddenly rang. I thought it was delivery, but when I opened the door, it was Chloe. She was wearing a black professional suit, her face looking very unpleasant. Serena, I have something to say to you, she barged in directly. What do you want to say? I looked at her warily. Ethan's situation, it's your doing, isn't it? She glared at me viciously. I don't understand what you're talking about. Stop pretending. Ethan said someone is targeting him behind the scenes, who else could it be but you? I sneered, Chloe, get your status straight. You're just a third party, you have no right to question me here. Third party? Chloe laughed, do you know? Ethan has never loved you, the one he loves is me. So what? The fact is he chose to get engaged to me, not you. That's because he needed your family's resources. Once he got what he wanted, he would naturally abandon you. I looked at her and suddenly found it laughable. Chloe, what's the point of saying these things? Now that Ethan is in trouble, is it useful for you to come to me? You must help him, she said unreasonably. Why should I? Because of your 3 years of relationship. He was the one who betrayed this relationship first, not me. Chloe was left speechless by my words. After a while, she said again, Serena, don't think you've won. Ethan will come back to me sooner or later. Then just wait, I said calmly. Chloe gave me a fierce look and turned to leave. After Chloe left, my mood was complicated. I didn't expect things to develop to this point, and I didn't expect so many people to come to me. While I was lost in thought, Damien arrived. I just saw a woman leaving your place, who was it? He asked. Chloe, Ethan's lover. Damien frowned, what did she come to you for? To plead for Ethan and threaten me. Threaten you? Damien's face darkened, what did she say? Nothing much, just some harsh words. I didn't want him to worry too much. But Damien obviously didn't think so. Serena, this woman is dangerous, you need to be careful. I will be careful. No, I'm not at ease. Damien thought for a moment, moved to my place for a while. Is that appropriate? I hesitated. What's inappropriate? My house is big, and there's a guest room. I thought about it and felt he made sense. Chloe's behavior today was indeed abnormal, and if she did something extreme, the consequences would be unimaginable. Okay, I'll pack some things. The next day, I moved to Damien's house. His home was a duplex apartment, tastefully decorated, simple yet cozy. The guest room is on the second floor, feel free to use it, he said, pointing to the stairs. I nodded and carried my luggage upstairs. The guest room was large, with a private bathroom, and the window offered a view of the city at night. Do you like it? Damien asked, standing at the door. It's great, thank you. You're welcome, we're friends. Friends? I looked at him, feeling a bit complicated. During this time together, my affection for Damien grew deeper. He was mature, steady, responsible, and very caring towards me. Compared to Ethan, he was worlds apart. But I had just ended a failed relationship and didn't want to start a new one yet. In the following days, living with Damien was peaceful. He went to work every morning and brought back some groceries in the evening, we cooked and ate together. This kind of life made me feel very warm, as if I had returned home. One weekend evening, we were watching a movie in the living room. Damien suddenly said, Serena, there's something I want to tell you. What is it? About Ethan's case, there might be a result soon. My heart tightened, what result? He did embezzle public funds, and the amount is large. According to the law, he might be sentenced. I was silent, feeling a mix of emotions. Although I hated Ethan, hearing that he might go to jail still made me feel a bit sad. After all, we had loved each other for 3 years. Are you sympathizing with him? Damien saw through my thoughts. It's not sympathy, I just feel a bit emotional. Serena, you have to remember, this is the consequence of his own actions. I nodded, but I still felt uneasy. Just then, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. Hello? Serena, it's me. It was Ethan's voice. How? I'm calling you from the detention center. Serena, I want to see you one last time. I looked at Damien, who shook his head. There's no need, we have nothing to say. Serena, I beg you, just one last time. There are some things I want to say to you in person. I hesitated for a moment, okay, I'll come see you tomorrow. After hanging up, Damien said unhappily, why did you agree to him? Just to see him one last time and make things clear. Serena, you're too kind. I smiled bitterly, maybe. The next afternoon, I went to the detention center. Ethan was sitting behind the glass window, wearing the detention center's clothes, looking haggard. Seeing me, a flash of excitement passed through his eyes. Serena, you really came. What do you want to say? I asked directly. Serena, I want to apologize to you, he said seriously, in these 3 years, I indeed did many things that wronged you. I didn't speak, listening quietly. I admit, at first, I was with you to use you. But later, I really fell in love with you. If you really loved me, you wouldn't have betrayed me. I know, I was deluded. Serena, can you forgive me? I looked at him and shook my head. Ethan, some hurts, once inflicted, can never be mended. A hint of disappointment flashed in his eyes. Then can you grant me one request? What request? If I get out, can you give me a chance to start over? I was silent for a moment, then shook my head, impossible. A hint of despair flashed in Ethan's eyes. Serena, are you really so heartless? It's not that I'm heartless, you were heartless first. After saying that, I stood up and left. Behind me, I heard Ethan's calls, but I didn't look back. Walking out of the detention center, my mood was complicated. This might be the last time I see Ethan. From now on, we are strangers. After returning from the detention center, I was in low spirits. Damien noticed my abnormality and asked with concern, "Did you see Ethan?" "Yes, he wanted me to forgive him, but I refused." "You did the right thing." Damien sat next to me. "Serena, forget the past and start anew." Looking at him, I suddenly felt very warm inside. During this time, if it weren't for Damien's company, I don't know how I would have gotten through. "Damien, thank you for always being with me." "Silly, no need to thank me," he gently stroked my hair. "I'm willing to be with you for a lifetime." My heart raced, sensing the depth of his words. "Damien." "Serena, I love you," he said suddenly. "From the first time I saw you, I fell in love with you." I was stunned, not expecting him to confess at this moment. "But we haven't known each other for long." "The length of time doesn't matter, what matters is the feeling." He looked at me earnestly. "Serena, are you willing to be with me?" Looking into his affectionate eyes, a warm current surged in my heart. After Ethan's betrayal, I thought I would never believe in love again. But Damien's appearance rekindled my hope for love. "Damien, Just as I was about to answer, the doorbell suddenly rang. Damien frowned and went to open the door. Outside stood a middle-aged man in a police uniform. "Damien, sorry to bother you, there's something I need to verify with you." Damien's face changed. "Please come in." After the police came in, they glanced at me and then said to Damien, "Regarding Ethan's case, someone reported that you are suspected of malicious manipulation. Please cooperate with our investigation." My heart sank, so Damien really was behind Ethan's situation. "I understand, I will cooperate with the investigation," Damien said calmly. After the police left, I looked at Damien. "Damien, what's going on?" Damien sighed. "Serena, I did push things behind the scenes regarding Ethan." "Why did you do this?" "Because I love you and can't tolerate anyone hurting you." My feelings were complicated, and I didn't know what to say. "Serena, will you hate me because of this?" he asked worriedly. I shook my head. "I don't hate you, I just think you were too impulsive." "I don't regret it." Damien held my hand. "Those who hurt you should pay the price." I looked at him, feeling a surge of emotion. Having a man willing to go to such lengths for me, what more could I ask for? "Damien, what if you get implicated?" "I won't, I was very careful and didn't leave any evidence." I nodded, choosing to trust him. In the following days, Damien did undergo investigation, but ultimately, no issues were found. Ethan's case also had a result. He was sentenced to 3 years in prison. Hearing this news, I felt calm. Perhaps this was fate's arrangement. A month later, Damien's investigation completely ended, and he resumed his normal work. That evening, we were having dinner at home. "Serena, last time I confessed to you, you haven't answered me yet," Damien suddenly said. I blushed. "You still remember?" Of course, it was the most important confession of my life. Looking at his serious expression, a sweet feeling surged in my heart. "Damien, I'm willing to be with you." A brilliant smile appeared on his face, and he stood up to hug me. "Serena, I will make you happy." I leaned into his arms, feeling an unprecedented sense of security. Perhaps this is true love. It doesn't need many words or promises, it just needs mutual sincerity. 3 months later, Damien and I held our engagement ceremony. This engagement ceremony was completely different from the last one, filled with warmth and sweetness. Damien carefully prepared everything for me, from the venue decoration to the choice of engagement ring. Every detail was infused with his effort. "Serena, will you be my fiancé?" He knelt on one knee and put the ring on my finger. "I will," I nodded with tears in my eyes. Applause erupted from the audience, and my parents' faces were beaming with happiness. They liked Damien very much and felt he was a man worth entrusting my life to. Clara also came, and she said excitedly, "Serena, this time you finally found someone who truly loves you." I nodded, filled with gratitude. Thankful to fate for letting me meet Damien, thankful for his company during my most difficult times. After the engagement ceremony, we went to a high-end restaurant to celebrate. "Serena, do you regret it?" Damien suddenly asked. Regret what? Regret being with me. After all, I did some not so honorable things for you. I held his hand. Damien, I don't regret it. Everyone has their own bottom line. I can understand what you did to protect me. A touch of emotion flashed in his eyes. Serena, I'm really lucky to have met you. Me too. We looked at each other and smiled, our eyes filled with affection. Just then, I saw a familiar figure walking into the restaurant. It was Chloe. When she saw us, her face instantly turned ugly. I thought she would come over to cause trouble, but unexpectedly, she just looked at us from a distance and then left. What's wrong? Damien noticed my abnormality. Nothing, just saw an irrelevant person. Damien followed my gaze and also saw Chloe's back. Is she still bothering you? No, I think she's given up. We continued our meal without mentioning it again. But what I didn't know was that Chloe's heart was filled with jealousy and resentment at that moment. She originally thought that after Ethan's incident, I would also be miserable. Unexpectedly, not only was I unaffected, but I also found a better man. This was unacceptable to her. The next morning, while I was working at the company, my assistant Lily rushed in. Director Serena, it's bad, someone posted negative news about you online. I quickly opened my computer and saw that there were indeed rumors about me online. Some said I was two-timing, betraying my boyfriend of 3 years. Others said I was after money, finding a wealthy lawyer. There were even those who said Damien and I conspired to frame Ethan. These rumors spread quickly, and my phone kept ringing with reporters wanting to interview me. I turned off my phone, feeling terrible. Although these were all false, some people believed them. Damien soon learned about it and rushed to the company to find me. Serena, don't pay attention to those rumors, I'll handle it. This must be Chloe's doing, I said angrily. I'll make her pay, a cold light flashed in Damien's eyes. Forget it, let her be. The innocent will be proven innocent, time will tell. Damien looked at me, his eyes full of heartache. Serena, I'm sorry, I implicated you. Don't say that, we're in this together, and we'll face anything together. He hugged me tightly. Serena, I love you. I love you too. Although there was a storm outside, our hearts were closely connected. I believed that as long as we loved each other, no difficulty could defeat us. The online rumors lasted for a week but soon died down. Damien used his connections to clarify all the rumors. At the same time, he found evidence proving that these rumors were maliciously spread by Chloe. Chloe was taken away by the police for defamation, and I could finally be at ease. Finally, some peace, I sighed with relief. Serena, this incident made me even more certain of one thing, Damien said seriously. What is it? I want to marry you as soon as possible, I don't want to wait any longer. My heart raced. Are you serious? Of course, I'm serious. Serena, will you marry me? I nodded, yes. We decided to hold the wedding in 3 months. During these 3 months, we were busy preparing for the wedding. From choosing the wedding dress to decorating the venue, from inviting guests to arranging the honeymoon, every detail was filled with sweetness. One day, while I was trying on wedding dresses, I received an unexpected call. It was from Helen. Serena, do you have time? I want to see you. I hesitated for a moment. Auntie, is there anything left for us to say? About Ethan, I want to apologize to you. In the end, I agreed to meet her. We met at a coffee shop. Helen looked much older, with white hair. Serena, I've thought a lot during this time. It's my failure in raising him that led Ethan to do such things, she said guiltily. Auntie, let's let bygones be bygones. I know you're doing well now, and I'm happy for you, she said sincerely. Serena, can you forgive Ethan? Not to get back together, but just to let go of the resentment in your heart. Looking at her, I felt a complex emotion. Auntie, I stopped hating him long ago. Everyone has to take responsibility for their choices, and so does he. Helen nodded. Thank you, Serena. I apologize on behalf of Ethan. Auntie, don't say that, Ethan's actions have nothing to do with you. We chatted for a while, and then Helen left. Watching her departing figure, I felt a bit emotional. Life is like that, some people are destined to be just passers-by. The wedding day was getting closer, and my mood was becoming more and more excited. That evening, Damien and I were watching TV at home. Serena, tomorrow is our wedding, are you nervous? He asked. A little, but more excited. Me too. He held my hand. Serena, thank you for being willing to marry me. I should thank you for being willing to marry me. We looked at each other and smiled, our hearts filled with happiness. Suddenly, I remembered something. Damien, there's something I want to tell you. What is it? About Ethan, although you did it secretly, I know you did it for me. Damien looked a bit nervous. Will you change your view of me because of this? I shook my head. No, everyone has their own bottom line. I can understand what you did to protect me. Serena. But I hope that in the future, no matter what happens, we can discuss and solve it together. Damien nodded. Okay, I promise you. We hugged each other, our hearts filled with sweetness. Tomorrow, we will become husband and wife. From then on, no matter what difficulties we encounter, we will face them together. This is the life I've always dreamed of, and now it's finally coming true. On the wedding day, the sun was shining, and the sky was clear. I wore a pure white wedding dress, feeling like a princess. Damien wore a black tuxedo, looking handsome enough to make one's heart flutter. Serena, you look beautiful today, he said, looking at me with deep affection. You look handsome too, I said shyly. The wedding was held in a beautiful garden, with many relatives and friends attending. When the officiant announced the start of the ceremony, my heart beat fast. Damien, do you take Serena as your wife, to love and cherish her, in poverty and in wealth, in sickness and in health, forever? I do, Damien said firmly. Serena, do you take Damien as your husband, to love and support him, in poverty and in wealth, in sickness and in health, forever? I do, I nodded with tears in my eyes. We exchanged rings and kissed affectionately. Applause and blessings erupted from the audience. My parents were moved to tears, they finally saw their daughter find true happiness. Clara also cried, saying, Serena, you finally found someone who truly loves you. After the wedding, we held a grand banquet. Relatives and friends came up to congratulate us, and the scene was filled with laughter and joy. Serena, I love you, Damien whispered in my ear. I love you too, Damien. We looked at each other and smiled, our hearts filled with happiness. Just then, I saw a familiar figure standing outside the venue. It was Ethan. He had been released from prison at some point and was quietly watching our wedding. He was wearing simple clothes, looking haggard, a completely different person from before. A complex emotion surged in my heart, but it quickly calmed down. Let the past be the past, I now have a new life. Ethan watched us for a while, then turned and left. This might be the last time we see each other. From now on, we are strangers. Damien also noticed Ethan, but he didn't say anything, he just hugged me tighter. Serena, no matter what happens, I will protect you. I know, I leaned into his arms, feeling incredibly safe. After the wedding, we went to the Maldives for our honeymoon. On that beautiful island, we enjoyed the sweetness of our own world. Serena, do you regret marrying me? Damien suddenly asked one day. Why do you ask that? Because I feel too lucky, afraid that this is just a dream. I smiled. Silly, this isn't a dream, it's reality. We're married, and you're my husband. That's good, he sighed with relief. Serena, I will love you for a lifetime. I will love you for a lifetime too. We hugged each other tightly, watching the sunset in the distance.